This is Daily Treasures with words of comfort, encouragement, and hope from the Word of God. Here is Dr. Nick Venditti with today's devotional.
March 16. Eagerness to preach the gospel. Welcome to Daily Treasures from the Word of God. Today's reading is Romans 1 through 4. Our lesson is from Romans 1:14-15. I am under obligation both to Greeks and to barbarians, both to the wise and to the foolish. So, for my part, I am eager to preach the gospel to you also who are in Rome. One of the outstanding characteristics in the life of Paul, apostle to the Gentiles, is that he was a man full of passion and focus. As a persecutor of believers, before he met the risen Christ, he passionately carried out his work. Then after his conversion, his passion was focused on serving his master and all people. Paul's conviction was to fulfill the Great Commission so that all may know the risen Christ as he did. Let's look at 3 commitments that motivated Paul. Paul's first obligation was to preach to the Greeks. We must not assume that the apostle is referring to the modern-day country of Greece as we know it. His obligation was the Hellenists, which refers to the people who came under the influence of Greek culture. During the conquests of Alexander the Great, much of the Greek language and culture influenced both Europe, the Middle East, and even extended to India. Although by nationality they were not Greeks, culturally and in some cases linguistically, they were influenced by the Hellenistic culture. Greek was an international trade language for many years. Paul's next obligation was to preach to the barbarians. The barbarians were the non-Greeks and considered uneducated by Greek standards. This included nomadic tribes and others that were not influenced heavily by the Greek worldview. Both Hellenists and barbarians would be considered by the traditional religious Jews as Gentiles, or as in Hebrew, the Goyim. Paul's third obligation was to preach to the Romans. Rome was the political capital and city of major influence throughout the entire empire. It had become the largest metropolitan city in its day. Alexandria was second and Antioch third. The apostle now had his sights set on Rome to advance the cause of the gospel. We do not know with certainty how the church in Rome began. However, what I find most convincing is that among those converted on the day of Pentecost, Acts chapter 2, were Jews from Rome who, upon return home, planted the church. What is apparent is that Paul wanted to visit them on his way to Spain. Part of his mission was to preach the gospel in Rome. Let's review. Paul's obligation was to preach to the Greeks. Paul's obligation was to preach to the barbarians. And Paul's obligation was to preach to the Romans. The apostle to the Gentiles was faithful to his calling. May he be our example as a person with a passion, vision, and mission for the entire world. It has been a pleasure to share with you daily treasures from the Word of God. Tomorrow's Bible reading is Romans 5 through 8. Let's not forget the words of the psalmist. The law of your mouth is better to me than thousands of gold and silver pieces. Until tomorrow, and may God bless you in abundance as you study the Word of God.